Welcome to, this is May 22nd, 2022, and Friends Meeting of Austin is having a forum that features our Colombia ministry with Carol Byler and Paul Stuckey, who are coming to us remotely from Bogota, Colombia. So we have some members of the Colombia Ministry Support Committee here, as well as a few other folks in the room. I think that's probably about all I need to say, unless someone else wants to jump in. Otherwise, I'm just going to see what Paul and Carol have to share with us.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm wondering, is there anyone with us who isn't familiar with Colombia Ministry or wonders who Paul and Carol are?
And we can say.
Okay, there you go. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah. Well, good morning to you, and thank you very much for this opportunity of being together. Just an item of curiosity here actually is that Carol's in Bogota, Colombia, but I'm in Ecuador right now. Another one of the marvels of technology, I guess. And so we're connecting from two different places. I'm here for a few days. I'll be back hopefully tomorrow night. But thank you for this time together. And I will sort of begin with some words, and I hope Carol will chime in if and when, Carol, you wish. And yeah, Mary Ellen, you were asking if people were familiar with Colombia Ministry and what this is about, and I'll say a few things about that, and then I'd like to also say some about, as I was thinking about this forum and about what we've been about, it got me to reflecting on some things which I'd like to share, and I hope there is time and opportunity for you all to join in with your observations, your questions, but yeah, what you might have to say about what we're presenting and what we're doing. What we're doing together with the meeting. First thing I think that I want to say and to celebrate is that this year marks, I think, 30 years since we moved here from Austin, and I think that it's a wonderful thing that we've been able to maintain this connection over all this time. It's been a very important connection for us, and I think the Colombia Ministry Committee has been important in that. Your support of Noah's Ark, the monthly friendly notes, the times when we've been able to connect and talk with several of you, your visits, being so warmly welcomed when we can connect in with the meeting through the internet, and then we've been able to get back and visit, just like you. Some of you have come here, we've gone there, and we hope to be there again before too long. So anyway, just really happy for the connections which we've been able to maintain over these years. And it's not a coincidence. I think all of those things make it possible, and I'm very grateful for that. Last year we had a forum, I believe, where we told more of the story of both our history as well as where we live and about Noah's Ark. And I think we had photographs and talked about specific people, and so maybe we won't go into that so much today, but we certainly can. But I do want to say a little bit about Noah's Ark and how we function. Noah's Ark is this project that has been a joint project all these years, in which we're able to be of support to people with specific needs, and needs that take place in a very specific economic and political context here. And so it's been a very important thing. It's often through donations to people that we get to know, mainly through the Mennonite church community that we're connected with. So it's people that we know. It includes migrants from Venezuela. There are officially counted about 2 million, maybe slightly less than that, migrants, people who have moved here from Venezuela, and some of them then we get to know. It's included people who have been displaced by the violence of war and drug trafficking groups in their communities. Colombia had a peace accord signed with one of the government and one of the main guerrilla groups, but that really hasn't stopped the violence. Not everyone demobilized, plus there are other guerrilla groups, and there's also strong drug dealing cartels, both Colombian and Mexican, operating here, and they're paramilitary groups, so that continues. And one of the consequences of that is the displacement, and most recently, one of the connections we've had that we've been able to support, offer some support through Noah's Ark, has been about 1,500 indigenous people who came and camped out in a city park, saying that they really couldn't stay in their communities, in the rural communities, because of the violence there, and they couldn't cultivate their land, and the conditions just weren't good, and so they came here. But of course, living in a park in a city that is cold and rainy isn't a very livable condition either. I'd sent some pictures of that, I believe, which were in one of the friendly notes. Anyway, people approach us with specific needs, and we help with issues like food, rent, utilities, sometimes medical needs, sometimes schooling, etc. And when they approach us, Carol and my brother Peter and his wife Leticia and I sort of consider it and respond in the best way that makes sense. Typically it's a grant. It's a small grant. It's often maybe translated into dollars, $10, $20, $50, sometimes more. And it doesn't seem like much, but it helps people through a difficult situation, and it carries with it a message of caring and hope. And it's been important. When we give it directly, people sign a receipt over the time of the pandemic, when everything, connections were pretty much closed down. Then we began to also make transfers through various money transfer mechanisms, and then people could just go and get the money close to where they lived. And they're always so very grateful, and we tell them that it's a donation from some people who care, and they all. So let me just make this an opportunity to transfer to you people's heartfelt gratitude. Um, and we keep track of how the money is spent, and there's an accountant here who goes over the reports and sends them to you, Terry. And this is all from donations that come through the meeting and from the meeting, from you, and then also from other people that we know who support in this way. And so that's sort of, in general terms, how it works. Carol, I don't know if you want to say something. Otherwise, maybe I'll just kind of continue.
Okay, you can continue.
Just to make some comments, reflecting on our experience in this. One of the things is that we see it as an extension and something in sync with the kinds of activities that you do in Austin as a meeting. You have a fund for supporting people in need, but also you have other activities there with again, people who are migrating to the US. You have the whole prison ministry. You have the way that you use the meeting house and make it available in so many ways. It's so that and in other ways, the activities of mutual care and service and social and political action of the meeting, I see is very much connected with, and in the same spirit of what the meeting is doing through us here in Colombia. And I like to think about this as an action of the meeting. I think that the project here isn't any more worthy than in so many other projects throughout the world. Maybe less so even, but what makes it significant for us as a meeting is that we are connected together in doing it, and that it's an expression of our faith community and of our values and our commitments together. And it's those of us, we're personally connected with each other when we do it, and I think that's part of what makes this specific thing significant. And a second reflection, I guess, is that we live in a society here and an economy which is very unequal. Unequal by that meaning that income is very, very concentrated, and in which opportunities for work which provides quality of life and dignity are very limited for many people, particularly for people who have limited education and marginal or marketable skills, people who are over 40, a very difficult time getting work, people who are women. The situation for women is often for having a good work possibilities is very limited. People who are sick, or even people whose personalities don't favor their being able to work together with others. And I say that because one of the things that we have come across over time is that we end up sometimes providing support to people over time. It's not just a one-time, one-off kind of thing, but over time. And this is to people who aren't. It's not just that they're freeloaders or that don't want to work is that, you know, they're not able to work, or they're not able to get steady work. And so they have no way of generating a constant source of income to live on. So just to give an example, one of them is a woman by the name of Maria Teresa. She has cancer. She's forever in and out of the hospital, and she has very few skills or the kind of work situation where she could generate an income. And so we've been able to help her with, like, what would it be, about $60 a month. Again, it doesn't seem like much, but it makes a huge difference for her. She came to Bogota after her husband was killed by paramilitary, and she was raped, and it's a very hard life. But she's a very inspiring woman, actually. There's somebody else, like a woman by the name of Nanita. I suppose Nanita is in her 60s or 70s. It's hard to tell. She lived on the street for a long time, and she tries to make a living now by selling incense sticks. Well, that's pretty hard going. Nestor is in his 40s, I think. He's been an orphan for a long time. I don't think he has much of any family anywhere that we know of or that he knows of. And he likes to work. He gets work doing home repairs and construction. And when he can get work like that, he works. And otherwise, he sells garbage bags. Now, selling garbage bags may sound like a strange thing, but actually, a lot of people who sort of live on the margin sell garbage bags. They're plastic bags that sort of fit into your garbage can or your indoor place where you would put your kitchen garbage. And so he sells them. And that generates income to help him cover his expenses. Victor Diaz is well, I'd say he's in his late 50s, maybe. He's a lawyer. He lives with his son, who got caught in, there was some sort of a robbery I think in a store or someplace, and somehow, I don't think let's see. Oh no, he was working in publicity and he had cameras. And I think in connection with that, he was shot and his cameras were stolen. He's recovered remarkably, although he still can't walk very well. He can't speak very clearly, but he's kind of getting back to work. But anyway, Victor is a lawyer. But when the judicial system closed down and then went completely online, he wasn't able to really get work, to get clients, and so this generates a bit of income, and he gets a bit of a sort of a pension, but it's not enough to cover the monthly medical, what do you call that? When you have to, what he has for the son.
Insurance costs.
Yeah, the insurance, and so we help with the medical coverage for his son. I'm and so these are small things, and they're small people, but for these people, and I mean I could go on, but just to mention them, for these people it makes a huge difference. Reminds me of that story which you've heard about the guy, about how the ocean had washed these starfish onto the beach, and there was somebody there just grabbing starfish and throwing them back in the water. But there were hundreds of starfish on the beach, and so somebody came along and said, "Well, it's just a hopeless cause. Why do you even bother?" Well, he replied, "Well, yeah, but for the starfish that I can throw back in the water, it makes all the difference between life and death." And I think that's sort of how it is for people. People here are also caught in political and economic crossfires. And I think the Venezuelans are an example of that. What's happening between the Colombian government, the US government, the Venezuelan government is our political conflicts at a high level, but the people who suffer are the people at the grassroots, at the community level, who can't make a living, who don't have any way of surviving in economic situations and political situations that are unstable. And that's what's happening with all the Venezuelans and many Colombians as well. I'm here in Ecuador, as I said, and yesterday I was talking with a Colombian woman who's here as a refugee, and she told me that she's been waiting for 4 years to be accepted for her request for asylum in North America to be processed, and she still hasn't heard. In fact, she says, "Look, we're trying to raise the money to see if we can get to Mexico and go up to the border and cross that way because we're desperate here." And I was asking another a couple who he's Colombian and she's Venezuelan, and I said, "Would you recommend that people who are in trouble in Venezuela or in Colombia can't make it there, come here?" And they said, "No, there's no work here." So it's just so difficult. It's the old saying about that the African saying about when elephants fight, the blades of grass get trampled, and that's the situation with people. And people get driven from their land also to make way for drug production and transportation of the drug products, mainly to feed the addiction of people in the north, like in the US, and there are families like that. There's one of the families is the Gomez family, who have had to make a living in different ways, and it's very difficult, but they try one thing, they try another, and what's remarkable is that the resilience is just amazing, and the imagination of different ways of making a living and getting ahead. And now their daughters are in the university. They've gotten scholarships, and they're going to come out. They're going to get ahead, and so it's very inspiring, actually, to get to know these people and know their stories, and in a small way, and at times when it really makes a difference, helping them out. I think another thing that's happening here that we haven't been in contact so directly, but it's beginning to happen a lot, is people migrating and fleeing because of environmental change. Right now, there's a lot of flooding in different parts of Colombia, landslides, rivers overflowing onto cropland, destroying the crops. And in other areas, it's drought, just long-standing drought and no rain. And so you begin to see not only people driven from their homes, but hunger, just major problems with hunger and children dying of malnutrition. So all that is happening, and through this project, we connect with specific people who are being affected in one way or another, and it's a message of help and of hope, just to say that I think it's been very important for people that they also connect with, in this case, the local Mennonite congregation, which welcomes them, and they become a part of it. And so it's not only a financial help, it's spiritual hope, and it's a community of caring that welcomes, that is interested, listens, and says and makes them a part of the community. They become a part of the community, and that after situations where they've been expelled, where they've had to leave, where the implicit message is you don't belong here, you can't be here. To have a community that welcomes them, that says, yes, you can be here, just makes a huge difference. The whole message that you belong, and that we care has been so important. And the finding a spiritual dimension to find meaning and hope and purpose makes a big difference. And then I've also thought something else about the churches as communities of faith. And when I speak of the church, I'm including meetings too, like the Friends meeting. I'm so aware that churches now and throughout history have been such a mixed blessing for societies, often being sources and causes of discrimination and violence and rejection. But I see the immense potential and good that churches can do. What comes to my mind is the Quaker image of the peaceable kingdom, and that famous painting is of people and animals peacefully gathered together. But I think our experience in this congregation in Bogota, has been of the diversity of human animals, if you will, who gather together. On any given on the Sunday morning for worship or at other events, but I'll speak about that. It's just a whole diversity of people who get together. People come who either now live on the street or who used to, and now finding a place of their own. There are people come who have very simple dwellings that they rent, or people who maybe have to pay $3 or $4 a night just for a place to sleep. But at the same time, at the meeting there, at the worship service, are people who own their own home, who own their own apartment. There are people who are illiterate or who have very great difficulty reading, or maybe have a grade school education. But there are also people who have high school, college, graduate, doctorates meeting in the same meeting. There are people who teach in the university meeting together with people with very limited education. As I was mentioning, there are people who earn their sustenance with such simple things as selling garbage bags or incense sticks, or who earn a minimum wage, which is about 250 dollars a month, with people who make substantial incomes. And then there are people with skins of different colors and different cultures. So I could go on just to say that I think I got to thinking about this too is an example of a peaceable kingdom. And I got to thinking, it's a model. When churches and meetings are like that, it's a model for what society can be. And I was thinking, where else in society does one find that people, such a diversity of people, regularly meet together, worship together, talk together, have coffee together, know each other by name, express concern for each other, pray for each other? It has its shortcomings, but I think it's also, I find it an inspiring example for the larger society. And when we meet together in that way and get to know each other, it raises our consciousness about and our ability to understand each other and to understand about the needs that different people in society face. And so it becomes even a political consciousness raising kind of experience. And I was thinking also about how the Apostle Paul in Galatians 6 talks about the importance of helping bear each other's burdens. And just one other thought, sorry I'm going on so long, but I've thought of the importance of meeting together, just meeting together, that meeting together creates a setting where we can nurture and be nurtured in specific values and practices, which are often not the same and don't coincide with necessarily the kind of socialization that the society at large is offering. And so we need each other. We need to meet and remind each other of what is important. And so it's in a community of diversity, committed to service, committed to nonviolence and to the common good, and to the care of creation. And I've thought about why in Quaker practice queries are important, because they raise questions and help us to think about things that we need to think about. I've thought about how things like forums, like Bible studies, like study of Quaker vision are important. Why the messages in meeting are important. Why eating together is important. And I was thinking that maybe when we speak of birthright Quakers, young people who grew up in this sort of countercultural community and have chosen to live that way, they become a part of that practice of a life of faith. And actually, I've mentioned this to Carol, that I think about our young people and who maybe they no longer participate in a meeting, and I fear actually that they will drift away if there's not a place that can nurture those values in them. It's not easy to withstand an individualistic and materialist culture. So anyway, I'm grateful for meeting and for the kind of experience of meeting together that it offers. We don't so often connect with Meeting for Worship in Austin, partly because the time coincides with the with the meeting of the local congregation here, and so being involved here, engaged here, sort of it crosses with the time when we could have met here. When Austin was on daylight savings time, then the times were different, so it made it easier. I think I'll stop there. Thank you for your patience in listening to me. And Carol, I don't know if you want to add anything. If not, I invite those of you who are participating from there to speak.
No, I don't have anything to add. I think you did a good job. Just to say that seeing you all and seeing the meeting house makes me think, motivates me to plan our next visit, to actually be there with you and visit in person will be very much a blessing when we can do it. And yes, any questions or comments? Maybe there's a little bit of time for that.
This is Mary Ellen. I appreciate you sharing the starfish story, because I think many of us feel overwhelmed by the enormity of needs, and just, remembering that we are connected in this somewhat small but incredibly meaningful way really spoke to me this morning. So thank you.
Kara and Paul, one of the most significant experiences of my life, I believe, was the visit I made to Bogota, staying with the two of you and seeing the work that was being done through the Noah's Ark Fund, meeting people who had been helped by it, and going to Peter's church. It doesn't meet all the needs in the world, of course, but if there were 1 million or 2 million small projects like Noah's Ark, I think it would meet a significant portion of the need in the world. And I suspect it does good that we're not even aware of. It must have ripple effects and provide some kind of offshoot or ray of hope that keeps things moving in a more positive direction. And it is, after all, for our souls that we do all of this, more so than for the bodies that need to have food, of course, and shelter. But the connection to people who have much more difficult lives than we have, and knowing that we can help to provide some small bit of rescue. It's been the most remarkable opportunity that the two of you have given us here at the Friends Meeting of Austin to participate in Noah's Ark all of these years.
Yeah.
A question. Thank you for speaking with us today. And your description of the Mennonite community that you're part of in Bogota was really beautiful. And especially the breadth of educational, racial, economic, every dimension of human diversity there. And that's something that I feel like, continue to struggle with here. I don't know what it is about our society that it's hard to find that sort of community for us. Do you have any observations or advice that might help us to build a more diverse community here in Austin?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what, it's a gift, I think, it's been a gift for us. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah. Hmm. I think that is part of the experience here that I think has contributed to it is that, but I think it's also true of the meeting, that as a church and as people in the church, we become active and involved in many areas of social and political action, and opened the building also for being used by different groups and for many different concerns, and so I think that people that may be one thing that has led people to gravitate, to come there. But certainly I think that's true of the Austin meeting as well. I wonder also, well, I don't know. I was thinking that different styles of worship speak to different people, I think. And so, and as you can imagine, the service, the worship service, the worship meeting at the Teosakilla Mennonite Church is not a silent worship, and in that sense, it also may be more familiar to people. I think, yeah, different, but it doesn't speak to everybody. Our style of worship here in Bogota doesn't either. Sort of different, and it's good that there's also diversities of styles of worship, and that's good too. I mean, that's very important. I'm very grateful for that diversity. Yeah. But I wonder also if I could turn the question back, what you all have learned that's been important in bringing people together as a meeting.
I guess that question comes at a somewhat difficult time, I feel like, for us, since I feel like just trying to figure that out again now that COVID has allowed us to finally come back together and worship in person. We're starting to try to rebuild the sort of community life that does draw people together, and to sort of revive those practices. As we were speaking, Joanna was helping lay out this gorgeous spread of food and this art sort of little celebration we'll have after meeting for worship, where I'm very excited about that, and other things like that. But it's sort of, it's something coming back slowly and that we're having to sort of really think about consciously right now. Oh, so it's about time. Speaking of things.
Thank you very much for this time and for joining for this forum. And thank you for your ongoing support and for making us a part of the meeting and keeping us as part of the meeting. It's very important to us, and we are very grateful to you. And we look forward to seeing you before too long in person.
And Jennifer Long put in the chat that what an honor it's been that we can do this ministry for this many years alongside you both and your family. I just wanted to make sure you saw that as well.
I would like us to consider the fact that it's partly the longevity of this ministry, and think about that. And I'm thinking of other friends' meetings and what they might want to establish, because I think the longevity is really an important thing, and the personal connections that we've had. So just a thought. I don't know very many meetings that had a ministry for this long time like this.
Thanks for making time today, Paul and Carol, both from
Thank you.
different countries.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to see you, and I'm glad we had this time together.
Thank you, and I will say goodbye because I have another commitment now.
It was good to see you.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye, Paul. Bye, Carol.
Bye.
Ted, nice to see you. Bye.